Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Talk Sox video. Brandon and I are back, and we are here to talk about a pitcher that is all in the works right now. We focus so much on Garrett Crochet, but I want to focus on a righty pitcher a little bit. Lucas Giolito is coming up in the ranks right now, and Brandon, I want to get your thoughts about him.
Yeah, he's obviously the Red Sox knew he would miss all of last season when they signed him to that 2-year contract. So it's good to, and obviously then he hurt himself in spring training. He's been on a rehab assignment for the last couple of weeks. He's made, I think, 4 starts at AAA. So it's good. It looks like it sounds like he's coming back against Toronto in this upcoming week. He's going to make his first start of the season. It'll be interesting to see what the Red Sox do with the rotation since Brian Bayo just came back as well. Maybe Sean Newcomb gets sort of booted out of the rotation. Tanner Houck struggling a lot, so maybe he gets put on sort of like a phantom IL situation. But regardless of how it happens, Giolito's coming back and he's making his first start for the Red Sox, which is really exciting. He's had a really up and down career from like 2019 to 2021 with the White Sox. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He was like a top 10 Cy Young finisher in each of those seasons. Strikes out a lot of guys. But he's also had seasons where he's been really bad. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what he brings to the table, especially since, it's been a couple years since he pitched and a couple years since he's been effective. As Ethan, as you and I know from, our time covering the Cubs, you can never have too many healthy arms in your starting rotation. So
Yeah, yeah.
if nothing else, it's good to get him back.
I completely agree with you. Again, it was really hard seeing that Bayo was out on an injury, excuse me. We've seen ups and downs in the past few seasons, like you said, with Tanner Houck, with Walker Bueller, with Cutter Crawford. It's been an up and down season in the past few years for all of them. And again, I think it's all green flags looking with Lucas Giolito. Now that we have him on the team, he's been with the White Sox for so long. He's kind of bounced around. The one thing that I always get a little bit worried about is, again, in the sense of I always go back to the age at the end of the day. He's 30 years old, so he's still young. He's not as young as maybe, some of the newer players going in, but to have him at AAA and now they're just moving him back up to the major leagues. What's your thought on that?
I mean, listen, again, he was in AAA. He was on this rehab assignment. So it's if they feel like he's ready to come back to the majors, fine. I do think it's worth cautioning Red Sox fans and baseball fans in general about Giolito because it's not just the injury. He was really, really bad in 2022 and 2023, the last couple seasons where he was mostly healthy. His again, you could go to Baseball Savant, you could look at his sort of stats, but his fastball fell off a cliff in those years. I think in his prime seasons, as it were, with the White Sox, he averaged like 94, 95 miles an hour with his fastball. It fell down a couple of ticks, in those last couple of years with the White Sox and the Angels, and then he went to the Guardians for a little bit. So again, this is a pitcher who probably doesn't have his ace level stuff anymore. But as we've talked about, the Red Sox have Garrett Crochet, they have Walker Bueller, they have Brian Bayo. If Tanner Houck turns it around, they have him too. They don't need, 2021 Lucas Giolito. They don't need Cy Young contending Lucas Giolito. If they get him, great. I mean, that'll, really put the Red Sox in a power position in the AL East. But they just need a guy who can compete with Sean Newcomb at the back of the rotation, give the team some innings. Again, and we know that he has the potential to dominate in any given start. So it's just sort of this high upside guy. Maybe if he doesn't work out in the rotation, maybe they move him to the bullpen and he becomes sort of a setup man for Slayton and Chapman. I'm not really sure, but again, it's sort of just it's a wild card for the Red Sox. The team's done pretty well to start the season. Again, Garrett Crochet's been tremendous, as we've talked about plenty of times by now. So it's really just a situation of, can the Red Sox get any additional value from this guy now that he's finally healthy again?
And I think the thing that I kind of want to end on here is look, if he does end up going up against the Blue Jays with his return to the major leagues, I think it would be very interesting. We talk all the time about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I love talking about Anthony Santander, coming from being such a big Orioles fan and now that he's on the Blue Jays. And, you could also think about Bo Bichette. All of these guys are power hitting threats. So now Lucas Giolito making his return. I think these are three players just off the top of my head, all power hitting threats to see, this is his time to shine, and it's kind of like testing the waters in some sense. When you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like you just said, it's testing the waters. that when the Red Sox signed him, they knew that this was all upside. They knew that this was just to sort of, see if this guy who has proven that he can be an ace in the past, see if he can rediscover that form. If not, so be it. Again, maybe they move him to the bullpen, maybe he becomes a trade asset, who knows? But again, this is just a such as we've been talking about, the Red Sox have now the talent at the top of the rotation where they don't need Giolito to be that guy. So, like you're saying, I think that it's just a situation of let's see what happens. If he pitches well, great. Red Sox have another good rotation arm. If not, I'm sure that, a trade will certainly be in play if the Red Sox keep playing this well. If Tanner Houck turns it around, that'll really help. But we'll see. As always, we want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Lucas Giolito returning? What are you watching for in his first start against the Blue Jays this upcoming week? Let us know.